Hello, and welcome back to Parish and Pub. I'm Stephen, and I want to examine today an idea, or at least a phrase, that comes from Fyodor Dostoevsky, from his novel The Idiot, which, in full disclosure, I have not read myself, but the phrase has sort of leapt out of the world of the novel and has for the last 150 years or so been challenging us in this world to grapple with its shocking boldness. Is it brilliant? Is it naive? Is it even intelligible? It's certainly provocative. The phrase is, "Beauty will save the world." I made a video already about the loss of beauty in our recent architecture and other surroundings, our art and music and other entertainment, and that was kind of a call to recovering not just the styles and artistry of pre-industrial Europe, but the mindset and motives of the pre-modern West as a way of reforming our souls with sturdier and higher ideas and ideals, so that with souls more deeply rooted, we could begin to have more higher-reaching spirits. I quoted an essay from the monastic sisters of St. Xenia saying, "We are little moved by beauty because we hardly know what it is. Like most value terms, beauty has become almost contentless, a word empty of any absolute meaning. Their counsel is to revisit the great works of those pre-modern and non-modern men and women, and to, quote, be carried on the thunder of a fugue, to be engulfed in the madness of Lear, to be consumed with the sanity of Quixote, refreshed by the health and charity of Dickens, illumined by the clarity and perception of Hugo, ballasted by the sober gravity and sidelong wit of Johnson, touched by the fire of Donne, and soothed by Chaucer's flowering springtime." It's magnificent advice, and I wholeheartedly agree. But if in diving into the great works, it does revivify our sensitivity to beauty, what then does beauty actually do for us? Why be more sensitive to it? And how, according to Dostoevsky, would it save the world? Beauty is one of the famous three transcendentals of truth, goodness, and beauty. Transcendentals in philosophy are basically qualities or concepts that exist universally, beyond the finite and contingent, and apply to the logically absolute. There are purely ontological transcendentals like absolute being and perfect unity, but the three we typically hear listed together, truth, goodness, and beauty, are realities that are more familiar to our experience, though transcending our experience and reason as well. They are irreducible to anything more desirable than themselves. Truth is good for the sake of truth, goodness for the sake of goodness, and beauty for the sake of beauty. And they contain within themselves their own rationale for being. David Bentley Hart writes, "It is this autotelic sufficiency, this quality of being an absolute end in itself, that is the distinguishing mark of all transcendental properties. For this reason, it may be that in some sense the most exemplary of the transcendentals is beauty. No other is more obviously characterized by an almost perfect absence of utility, or possesses a power to compel that so clearly offers no gratification or profit beyond itself. The apprehension of beauty is something simple and immediate. It is wholly elusive of definition. It never makes sense to say, 'This is beautiful because,' and yet it is inescapable in its force. One knows it, one experiences it, but no concept is adequate to it. Beauty is gloriously useless. It has no purpose but itself." And it may just be this utter uselessness of beauty that could make it the thing that saves the world. Beauty has no ulterior motives. It's transparently what it is, an arresting, compelling quality, or rather event, that puts one's mind and heart in touch with, if ever so briefly and ever so minutely, the absolute, real, true existence. Beauty stirs us from our habitual forgetfulness of the wonder of being. It grants us a particularly privileged awakening from our fallenness into ordinary awareness, reminding us that the fullness of being, which far exceeds any given instance of its disclosure, graciously condescends to show itself again and again in the finitude of a transient event. In this experience, we are given a glimpse, again with a feeling of wonder that restores us momentarily to something like the innocence of childhood, of that inexhaustible source that pours itself out in the gracious needlessness of being. Beauty brings us to an encounter with the utter gratuity of existence. It lets us touch the divine, to see maybe not the face, but the back of God. And because it connects us with divinity directly and not through our moral or rational faculties, it can even work on those who are skeptical or confused or angry or cautious or inflamed in their relationships with the other transcendentals of truth and goodness. Bishop Robert Barron correctly notes that in evangelization, commencing with either moral demand or the claim to truth will likely raise insuperable blocks in the person one wishes to evangelize. Who are you to tell me how to behave or what to believe? How can you be so arrogant as to think that you should impose your thought patterns on me? This is precisely why moralizing and intellectualizing are often non-starters in regard to persuasion. But there is something unthreatening about the beautiful, which is why the best evangelical strategy is the one that moves from the beautiful to the good and finally to the true. Even if we're not talking about Christian evangelization, though, just in basic persuasion or even simply in getting to know people or cultures, beginning with beauty is often the most disarming and effective method. That's not to say that beauty is some tool for persuasion or a means to an end. Beauty is an end in itself. It's a reminder of an encounter with the transcendent while in the midst of the contingent. It situates the moment or an experience within a higher context, a higher reality that transcends the immediate cares or issues one may be facing, and transcends, frankly, both of the people who are encountering each other. There's a moment in Tolkien's The Return of the King when Samwise is in the very heart of doom and misery, the land of Mordor, when he looks up above all the ugliness and despair. There, peeping among the cloud rack above a dark tor high up in the mountains, Sam saw a bright star twinkling for a while. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked up out of the forsaken land, and hope returned to him. For like a shaft, clear and cold, the thought pierced him that in the end, the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There was light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. This vision and the truth it inspired in his thoughts steeled Sam to continue his perilous mission. But hang on, why didn't any of the orcs in Mordor that night look up, see that star, and think the same thing? Why was Saruman no longer capable of seeing the beauty of the forest on his doorstep and now only saw it as raw material to be consumed? Why are so many around us, from the richest to the poorest, seemingly incapable of appreciating the beauty all around them in nature, in people's faces, in stories, in music, in 100 small scenes and vignettes every day? Of the afternoon sun squeezed into a single golden sliver through the curtains in a window, of a green sapling growing through a crack in the asphalt of an abandoned parking lot, of a butterfly spotted resting on the ledge of a 12-story window from inside a dull and soulless office space. They're no longer seeing the beauty in these moments because they've become so consumed with the short-term, contingent, worldly cares that they've either forgotten the transcendent altogether or forgotten that the transcendent can break in, does break in all the time. Once upon a time, when the parish and pub reigned in daily life, the transcendent was widely and actively sought after, and beauty was not only perceived, but replicated and recreated, subcreated, I guess, by people in story and image and building and action. The music of the spheres was imitated in the music of the voice. The order of nature was praised in the order of architecture. Manuscripts were illuminated, melodies were ornamented, clothing was decorated, carvings were embellished, glass was richly colored, actions were ritualized, worship was liturgical. Everything was hierarchical and had its place, and hence was necessary and significant in its place. In that kind of world, beauty was all around, and the spirit could rise higher, buoyed up on the sea of transcendence flooding the immanent. Since that time, however, much has changed. Beauty has always been unique and distinct among the transcendental triplets, but the medievals gave her full expression, while at the same time expounding truth and goodness in moral and philosophical treatises and homilies. But as the realm of the intellect started becoming more and more privileged and prioritized, so too did the transcendentals that are better apprehended by those powers. Beauty, says Hans Urs von Balthasar, is the last thing which a thinking intellect dares to approach, since only it dances as an uncontained splendor around the double constellation of the true and the good and their inseparable relation to one another. Beauty is the disinterested one. But it's also the one, I think, most in need of defending today. We no longer dare to believe in beauty, and we make of it a mere appearance in order the more easily to dispose of it. Our situation today shows that beauty demands for itself at least as much courage and decision as do truth and goodness, and she will not allow herself to be separated and banned from her two sisters without taking them along with herself in an act of mysterious vengeance. So wrote von Balthasar in the early 1980s, a particularly low decade in the gradually declining beauty sensitivity of the West. But we're not much improved since the 1980s, and it still requires courage and decision to acknowledge, search out, and be receptive to beauty wherever it can be found. But it can be found if we're able to see it and hear it and be caught up in it. And I guess here's really the point of this video. Because it takes courage and decision to prioritize beauty, I'm calling on all of us who are interested in sympathetic and understanding of this problem to do just that, to share beauty whenever and wherever possible, to share it intentionally with family, with friends, on social media if necessary. I've taken to sharing things with the hashtag Beauty Will Save the World. It's arresting, and it disturbs and disrupts the flow of ugliness that's all around us. So give beauty pride of place again in the things that we pay attention to, and the things that we have in common with others, and the things we put out there in the world. We all have free will, volition, and intention. I'm suggesting we use them to promote beauty at every turn. I'm not saying what kind of beauty it has to be. There's so many instances of it: poetry, music, sacred architecture, iconography, uplifting landscape, gorgeous artisanship, stories of virtue and valor, inspired literature. But just make sure whatever you're sharing is genuine. Make sure that you really encounter it as beautiful, so that we don't make propaganda of beauty or just a means to an end. The end breaks in as beauty already. So just share that. And I think as more beauty is shared, and I think this is what Dostoevsky was getting at too, as more of it's shared, as more of us intentionally apprehend it, share it with others, give permission for others to disarm themselves and appreciate it again, to regain their sensitivity to it, that we shift the attention away from the world of power and wealth and lust and self-righteousness and anger to the disinterested, transcendent, gloriously useless, but unarguably divine phenomenon that we call beauty. The more we do that, I think the more it will draw us all out of ourselves, out of the worldly, so that we'd rediscover together our shared situation as just contingent beings, all in the same relation to some ultimate reality that has as one of its characteristics the gracious habit of disclosing itself and its ultimate goodness. I mean, in other words, the more we share beauty, the more we all encounter it together, I think the more we'd all see each other as children of God. And thus, beauty will save the world. So, till next time, God bless.